Hi guys, I've done another little build video and painting. So welcome back. Thanks to regular guys who keep watching, keep commenting. Thanks for your comments and your views. And welcome to anybody who's new to the channel. Usually I don't build models so much as just paint them and weather them and put them in a diorama situation. Everything that kind of begins after the instruction booklet finishes is how I think of it. But with this one, it's quite a rare model. A comment from John had suggested that I look into MHA's Chinese made models, because I was saying that the Tamiya Mark IV British tank from the First World War was a bit too expensive because it came with all the motors to use it kind of remotely, to let it run around the room on its own, and I wasn't really interested in that. So I got onto the MHA stuff, about £20 in UK money, and yeah, I'm going to build a Whippet first. I think it was just called the Mark A medium tank, but and I've got the Mark IV female, I think, next to build. So I bought both kits. MHA also did some figures that look nice as well, and but I didn't buy them. I've bought a couple of other sets of figures that I'll go into in my next video, maybe. Or, well, I will go into it in my next video, but I'll not necessarily build them for my next video. But got a couple of nice sets. There's a few really lovely sets from the First World War, British soldiers, 1/35 scale. But yeah, this is the Whippet, British tank from the end of the war. It started arriving on the battlefield in the last couple of months of 1917, and they kind of came up with the idea of where the big Mark I and subsequent tanks was the assistant to the infantry. They wanted a tank to assist the cavalry in the final months of the war when everything became more mobile. But in reality, as we know now, this is a light tank like this is not the support of the infantry, of the cavalry. It's the replacement of the cavalry. Well, they were in this schism between, two different kinds of warfare, still trying to keep hold of swords and horses and all the kind of militarism that they were used to in the 19th century. But the tank was a success, 8 miles an hour, and it just replaced the bigger heavy tanks at the end of the war. If the infantry could get one of these ahead of them, it would do everything that the Mark IV tank could do. I don't think the armour was very thick. I think it was about 12mm thick, but it just did as good a job, really. And like the other tanks of the First World War, it was a brute to ride in. I think there's a video from the Tank Museum on YouTube, and I think they said that the team only were expected to use it for one day and not have the next day off, because it was so gruesome to be in the vehicle when it was moving and fighting. So they'd have two teams that would take turns doing shifts on the same vehicle. There is actually a set of figures, if you look around, of tank drivers that you can position with this tank on a diorama. I love my First World War dioramas. I love doing little trenches and the muddy situations and the blasted trees and the sandbags and all that kind of stuff. So really, this is just a vehicle for doing a diorama, which will be my next video. So yeah, guys, that's it really. You can see from the first few minutes of footage there that the plastic is not a very light and fragile. It's very, very sturdy and thick. Not a huge amount of flash on it, but it was so thick that if there was a little bit of warping, which there was on the actual base, the actual underside, main chassis, bottom of the vehicle, that there was a slight twist in it, so it wouldn't fit together properly. So I did have to glue it and cover it in tape and clips and stuff like that to try and sort it. But the plastic was quite thick. Yeah, it was like, it reminded me of when I was a boy and I bought toy tanks. The toy tanks that came in a big box set with big figures, and the tanks generally were like a hollow hull with a turret on top, and when you turned it upside down, it was complete. There was nothing on the inside, and it was just a shell, and they were made of this kind of glossy, thick green plastic, and then they'd either have a sticker, a white star US sticker on it, or it'd have a German cross on it, depending which side it was on, even though it was the same shell and the same colour. And the quality at first of this made me think of that. So yeah, it doesn't feel a particularly expensive kit, and we'll get to the decals shortly, and the decals are a little bit, they let the kit down a little bit, but you know, if you put your mind to it and you're not a beginner, I think you can have great results from it anyway. So I've watched Andy's Hobby Headquarters and somebody else on YouTube who make the Meng kit, which I think is slightly more expensive, quite a bit more expensive. And basically the end result is identical. There's more detail though on the Meng kit in the terms of the sprocket wheel and chain, which is hidden on the model anyway, and also there's more detail inside the cab, which again is hidden. So I suppose in a way you put the two models next to each other when they're both built and painted, I don't think there'd be very much difference between them. Even the parts on the sprue of the Meng kit looked pretty close to the parts on the sprue of the one I've made, the MH one. I don't know if there's any crossover there between the two companies, if they used the same moulds or something, but yeah, I think this is as good a kit as any to get. Just be careful, and just be aware that some of the hidden parts, or the parts that are integrated inside of it, look and feel a little bit cheap, especially the wheels and the little rolling guide for the tracks. They're quite flimsy and cheaply made, but they're hidden beneath the tracks anyway. So yeah, it's interesting, this tank, in terms of more modern tanks where you expect to see the engine at the back. This tank has its turret at the back, so its long surface is the front of it, but still you kind of look at it and it's hard to think of it in those terms. So it looks like it's going backwards, but it's actually going forwards. And the petrol tank is on the front. There was an armoured petrol tank on the front. The engine was between the petrol tank and the crew. There were two engines in it, two London bus engines, and one independently powered each track on either side. So the driver had a very complicated 2-gearbox system, 2 pedals, 2 separate throttles. I think it was very difficult to drive. But it's a great opportunity with the way the battlefields were in the First World War to get a tank and really muddy it up. I include a few pictures at the front of this video. Most of the pictures online of this tank seem to be the ones that the Germans captured and put their own symbols on and used. I don't know anything about how they fared at the end of the war fighting against us, but it's why the British ones had the flashes of white, red, white on the front and the sides to make it clear that they were in English usage. Actually, the MHAR model kit comes with decals for about 6 or 7 different versions, essentially just different serial numbers, and they have different nicknames. But there is a German version as well. And I think after the war, the Soviets used the tanks that they captured when the British had been fighting on the side of the White Russians against the Soviets. And then I think we sold a couple to Japan as well. But quite an interesting little tank and quite a cute little thing. Yeah. Let me know, guys, if you've made this model or if you've made another version of this tank, or if you've made any First World War tanks. This is my first one, and yeah, really enjoyed it. With the tracks, they're very thick vinyl, hard to manipulate really. But before I put them on, I painted them silver using Citadel colours, and then I used hairspray and painted over that with just black acrylic, just cheap artists acrylics, because the plan was to rub most of it off. I only wanted to have a hint of black over the silver, a bit of wear over the silver, so it doesn't look too clean. So if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that method. You'll maybe know that method from other videos as well. Just hairspray chipping, but using it quite roughly on this, just to give a tarnished effect to the metal tracks. Obviously, you've photographs online. Many of them are from museum versions of this tank, and some of them are silver tracks, some of them are painted the same colour as the body, but the box art had silver tracks, and I thought it looked really good, so I just wanted to stick with that silver plates on the tank. Just bare steel kind of colours. if you follow my Instagram, guys, which is just the same name, Supermodel Dave, you'll have seen this tank finished, some preview pictures. I couldn't resist putting some on. And I'm actually ahead of myself with making videos because I had joined the COVID club a week ago. I was off work for just under 2 weeks and was able to make a couple of videos during that time. So yeah, this is one of my builds that I've finished, and I've more or less finished the diorama for it as well. I'm back at work now, so I don't know how quickly I'll be able to keep up with that, but definitely looking forward to doing the next MHAR model, which is the Mark IV tank. And then, as I mentioned, I've got 2 sets of figures from the First World War, British soldiers wearing gas masks, and then there's a kit, an MB kit with British soldiers in a trench charging, where the trench is included. And yeah, the trench is a strange kind of moulded plastic setup, quite a small and very clean, geometric square cutout of a trench, and I'd rather salvage the little bits for other projects. I don't think any trenches were really that perfectly square and cleanly designed, so I'll try and use the panels and the duckboards as I do a couple of dioramas of my own, and then incorporate the soldiers at some point as well. But I think it'd still be worth its while buying that little box set. I think there's another version of that MB Master Box trench as well, with Germans attacking. So some British soldiers in the trench and some German soldiers on the surface, on the battlefield. Yeah, there's some nice stuff, and then the soldiers that are wearing gas masks obviously are going to have to be a separate diorama. So maybe with the Whippet, or maybe I do a trench diorama which is just figures in the future. Either way, I love doing all my favourite dioramas are the trench ones that I've done. I think I've filmed 2, guys, if you want to look back at old videos, and I've got 3 and 4 now with the Whippet, but the biggest one I built before I started filming my builds. So anyway, the decals, as I mentioned, you'll have to use plenty of your microsol or whatever fluid you have, softener, because they're like acetate, they're that thick, and the places that you're putting them on the model has lots of texture, especially the 9 Roman numerals on the lower half of the model. So eventually they did soften. I was quite generous with the fluid that I use, which helped them adhere. And then yeah, I knew I was going to do some dust effects and some mud effects over that, so I wasn't too worried about it. But I think the guys making the Meng versions of the model seem to have the same issues as well. So it might be that they both originate from the same maker in the first place. So I just hand painted the red and white flashes on the back of the model to identify it as English, because I use a paintbrush, but also because the decals would just no way the decals would have adhered to it. But you know, try your best if you want to have a go with the decals. They are included, but I just brush painted the red and white stripes on the back of it. So just a nice short one this time, guys, and then next time I post something, it'll be the video of the diorama, which is what I'm really looking forward to. And thanks for watching, and hope you liked this video. Let me know what you think, and yeah, there should be some more pictures on my Instagram, and I'll probably post pictures of the diorama on there before I post them here. Thanks for watching, guys.